Moreover, he just broke through 3 great realms in a row. His body was full of strength, and he urgently needed to vent. Originally, he was going to go to Hong Kong immediately, but he didn't expect that before he went to find Hong Kong, Wang Ba didn't fight himself. What a death seeker. Hearing Su Chang's cruel words, Wang Ba's nostrils turned to the sky, and he said coldly, "Ha ha ha, I want to see, how can I not do without this?" Boom. A terrifying fluctuation rushed out from his body, sweeping in all directions. Bone joints roared, tiger and leopard thunder clicked. Boy, I originally planned to escort you to the torture hall, but now that I think about it, why bother? Wouldn't it be troublesome to kill directly on the spot? Wang Ba shouted angrily. This is not the case. It was Su Chang'e who had just spoken to him harshly, and he immediately realized that this was an admission in disguise. Then there is no need to let the torture hall check the evidence, just kill it directly. Boom. Wang Ba's fist slammed through, the air exploded, and a terrifying sonic boom was heard. The fist wind is like thunder. Click. Wang Ba, I can only say that you are in the wrong place. Seeing the iron fist slamming towards the door, Su Chang'e's face did not change color, and sneered, your cousin is looking for death by himself, and you, like him, are also looking for death. Wang Shan was killed because of what he knows in his heart. Why should someone else fix him? He can't fix it back. What heavenly principle? Boom. In an instant, Su Chang'e's body was coercively pressed, and the breath of the blood realm was like a tornado rain, and it broke out in an all-round way. Boom. The room exploded directly and was smashed into fragments. Su Chang'e stood in this fragment, like a god of war standing, hundreds of millions of cell particles and blood in his body were moved, under the blessing of powerful cultivation, turbulent flowing, meridians exploded, like rolling thunder roaring. What? Sensing this breath, Wang Ba's eyelids jumped, and he said in shock, move. Move the blood realm. Fiercely, he understands why Wang Shan died here. Originally, he was still curious. Su Chang'e was just a little transparent who could not practice, he could only be used as a vase. How could he kill his cousin? But who would have thought that he was actually a powerhouse in the blood moving realm? Hidden deeply. For a while, his face changed drastically, and he howled, oh my God, how is it possible? How is this possible? Su Chang'e's fist slammed through, the air burst, and the sonic boom was like a thunderbolt on a sunny day, shocking, and slammed hard. Wang Ba's face changed again and again, and he wanted to withdraw his fist. But it was too late. Su Chang'e's fist has already struck horizontally. Click. Click. Read more novels for free on our website, tinyurl.com/2AA54Z8B. In an instant, the fists of both sides slammed into each other, and suddenly burst out with a piercing sound of bone joint explosion. Wang Ba's fist was directly smashed, inch by inch exploded, bone stubble splashed, blood flowed. And Su Chang'e's fist didn't even break the skin, and he continued to blast forward. Click. The fist slammed through, like destroying the decay. Wang Shan's entire arm was directly pierced, and the broken bones were mixed with blood splattered. His whole face turned pale all of a sudden, and he screamed miserably, "Aaaaaaa! My arm! My arm!" The entire arm was forced through, and even the shoulder was removed, revealing the bone stubble of Bisensen inside, and the broken bones, and blood burst, turning into a mist of blood. The piercing pain made his face crazy and trembling. Oh my God, is this the strength of the blood-moving realm? The thought just crossed my mind. Boom. Suchanga shot again and slammed a punch into his face. Wang Ba was shocked in his heart, and hurriedly urged True Qi to form a true Qi light mask on the surface of his body. Boom. Suchanga slammed a punch on the protective body True Qi, Wang Ba's True Qi light mask directly exploded, and then was slammed on the head by a punch. The head was like a fragile watermelon, directly exploded by the bombardment. Red and white things splashed, blood rain poured down. Plop. His headless corpse fell heavily, his limbs twitched a few times, and then he stopped moving. At the last moment of his death, he suddenly woke up to the fact that he really couldn't do without this today. After killing people, Suchanga quickly searched on him for a while, and successfully touched a storage bag around his waist. When I opened it, I saw that there were more than 9,000 top-grade spirit stones inside, and there were others, but Suchanga didn't have time to check it carefully, and tied up the mouth of the bag and put it on his body. Subsequently, he made up for Wang Ba's punch fiercely. Click. Boom. Wang Ba's entire body exploded inch by inch, and was destroyed into a cloud of blood mist. Then Suchanga went to the back mountain to fetch a few buckets of water to wash away the blood stains at the scene to ensure that no traces were left. Then I went and chopped some wood and rebuilt a hut. Finally, he suppressed his cultivation in the law phase realm, changed into a gray robe similar to Wang Ba, and then changed his appearance according to Wang Ba's appearance. It didn't take long for him to transform into a king, and then lift his feet and leave here. Tiantai Peak. Suchanga, who was easy to become a king, easily entered the Tiantai Peak without any inspection, and the road was unimpeded. When many disciples saw Wang Ba, they all greeted him in a friendly manner. Hello, Senior Brother Wang. I've seen Senior Brother Wang. Suchanga nodded silently and walked towards the inside of Tiantai Peak. It didn't take long. Just in front of a luxurious courtyard. This is Hu Yuankong's mansion. Hu Yuankong is a genius, he is very valued in Tiantai Peak, and the food and accommodation are far from being comparable to ordinary disciples. Suchanga entered the mansion. This is a luxurious courtyard, excellently decorated and magnificent. A sneer appeared at the corner of his mouth, and he swaggered into the enemy's hinterland, without anyone noticing the abnormality. What a bunch of stupid pigs. Step. Trample. At this time, a group of disciples suddenly walked in from outside, all of whom came to find Hu Yuankong. These are the disciples of the strange old man of Tiantai Peak, who usually have a good relationship with Hu Yuankong and call each other brothers. Therefore, when they are fine, they will come to Hu Yuankong to ask questions. When they saw Wang Ba here, they all bent down and saluted, respectfully, saying, Senior Brother Wang is good. Suchanga nodded and asked, What are you doing here? My cultivation has encountered a bottleneck, and I want to find Senior Brother Hu to solve my confusion. A disciple said. Everyone else nodded in unison. Hu Yuankong is a well-known genius of Tiantai Peak. As long as he glances at the classics, he can understand the truth inside in a moment, and make inferences. Suchanga lowered his voice and said, It just so happened that I also came to look for him, but he went out. It seems to be going to the main peak. You go there and look for it. When these disciples heard this, they saluted one after another, and thanked them. Thank you, Senior Brother Wang, then let's go to the main peak. Well, go ahead. Suchanga nodded expressionlessly. Phew. A sound of breaking wind streaked by, and all those disciples just now were gone. After making sure that they were far away, Su Chang'e walked to the depths of the mansion and knocked on the door in a tall and magnificent attic. Who? An angry voice came from inside. Hu Yuankang was studying the exercises inside, but this exercise book was very peculiar. He never got the essentials. He was a little irritable, and now when he heard a knock on the door, he suddenly felt disturbed. It's me, Wang Ba. Su Chang'e lowered his voice. It turned out to be senior brother Wang. Hu Yuankang was shocked in his heart, hurriedly pushed the door out, and said, respectfully, Senior brother Wang, why are you here? Hurry up and please come in. Wang Ba is a ninefold cultivator of the Dharma phase realm, and he is only a Dharma phase eightfold, so he has always been very respectful to Wang Ba. Su Chang'e swaggered in, and the big horse golden knife sat on the upper seat. Hu Yuankang made a cup of tea, brought it over respectfully, and said with a smile on his face, I don't know if senior brother Wang is coming, what advice do you have? No advice, it's just that I got lucky recently and got a treasure knife. I don't take advantage of it, so I want to give it to you. Su Chang'e took the tea and took a sip of tea, and said lightly. It's just that when he said the word send, his tone changed significantly. Immediately, he took out the dragon-slaying knife. Hu Yuankang looked at this knife, his eyes lit up, and joy fell from the sky. He could clearly feel that this knife was extremely thick and domineering. Just the sharpness of that knife inadvertently burst out made him almost unbearable. Read more novels for free on our website, tinyurl.com/2aa54z8b. He tried to mention it, but suddenly took 3 steps back, his face changed, and exclaimed, so heavy? Good knife. Sure enough, it's a good knife. He has never seen such a powerful sword, and now that he is seeing it for the first time and the other party is going to give him this knife, can he not be excited? This thing is called the Dragon Slayer knife, use it to send you, is it qualified? Su Chang'e said expressionlessly. Qualified. Qualified. Senior brother Wang deserves to be a senior brother. And he has great righteousness in his heart. Hu Yuankang didn't hear the meaning of his words, and his eyes showed gratitude. If senior brother Wang doesn't dislike it, and wants to swear with you and marry as a brother, I wonder if you are willing? If that's the case, then it is incumbent upon the brother to accept it. Su Chang'e said lightly, but the words became a little cold, but Hu Yuankang did not notice it because of excitement. Good. From now on, you are a brother and I am a brother. Hu Yuankang looked beaming. The other party came to the door to send him such a powerful treasure. Although he didn't know why, but he carefully brushed it out, and remembered that he and Wang Ba did not have a bad place, and the usual relationship was good. Brother don't have to be polite, since you and I are already brothers, then it's better to let my brother give you a ride. Su Chang'e said again at this time. Listening to his words, Hu Yuankang was a little stunned. Give me a ride, what do you mean? Hurriedly said, no need, senior brother Wang, you are confused, this is my mansion, I don't have to go back. And yet, what he didn't expect was that the next words of Wang Ba shocked him and surprised him. No, 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 it's your brother, you're confused, for my brother you want to send you to the west. This treasure knife, send you to the western heavens, it is qualified. The voice just fell. Boom. The huge knife momentum rolls, like thunderbolts, the knife momentum is like thunder, the wind blows, and the tables and chairs click. Hu Yuankang's face turned pale, and he said in horror, Senior brother Wang. Why are you? Click. Suchanga didn't talk nonsense, the dragon-slaying knife slashed down heavily, and the weight of 1,000,000 caddies poured out, slashing fiercely on Hu Yuankong's head. Before the knife was cut, the weight alone crushed his face, crushed him heavily to the ground, and then the sharp blade was like chopping melons and cutting vegetables. Poof! Blood splattered. Hu Yuankong almost didn't even have the power to resist. His body was directly cut in half, and he had no life. The floor was cut out of a large hole. Then, Suchanga groped his body for a while and successfully obtained a storage bag. Immediately afterwards, Suchanga's mind moved, and the dragon-slaying knife disappeared from his hand. Then, walk out through the back door and leave with your flying sword. The whole process was very sharp and extremely fast, and no one in the entire Tiantai Peak noticed it. Hu Yuankong died quietly, no one knows. Suchanga flew with the imperial sword, went straight back to the back mountain of Lihua Peak, entered Qingtan to take a bath, and then changed into a brand new white clothes, as if nothing had happened, calm and calm. An hour has passed. Some disciples came to the mansion to find Hu Yuankong. When he knocked on the door, he wondered, pushed the door and walked in. A little later, he walked out in shock, his expression changing greatly. "Seen your brother who has fallen." This statement came out. It immediately alarmed the entire Tiantai Peak. It didn't take long. The strange old man arrived with a large number of people and horses, entered Hu Yuankong's house, looked at the corpse that was divided into two halves, and was shocked and angry in his heart, and let out an angry roar. Who is it? The strange old man's name is Du Sihai, his face is mean, and he is notoriously sinister, but because of his advanced cultivation, no one can take anything from him. This Tiantai Peak is unanimous, and it should be someone from elsewhere who killed him. An elder's face was ugly, and after speaking, he suddenly gasped, realized something, and lost his voice. Shoo! Silently killing people inside Tiantai Peak, the other party must be a master. As soon as these words came out, a whole row of gasps suddenly sounded all around. What I said was without noticing at all, Hu Yuankong was done, so silent. This is undoubtedly a provocation, and it is also a slap in the face of their Tiantai Peak. Du Sihai's face was extremely gloomy, and his angry roar was like thunder, and he jumped violently. Check it for me. Hansa must know who did it, the one who dares to kill me. I let him live. Better than die. The thunderous fury roared, shaking the entire Tiantai Peak. Many disciples rushed to hear the news, and when they saw Hu Yuankong's miserable situation, they all gasped. Someone actually kills people wantonly on their territory? Is it so ferocious? Tiantai Peak is no longer safe. Ugh. At this moment, a middle-aged man in Qingyi arrived, and there was a sharp kendo coercion. Everyone felt a sharp sword intent attack, and they felt that their faces were almost cut. Sword idiot, a powerhouse in the divine palace realm, is enough to sweep any blood-moving realm. Even if it is a blood-moving ninefold, it can't resist his sword. After moving the blood realm, it is the divine palace realm. Sword idiot, you came just right. Du Sihai glanced at him and said coldly, this matter is left to you. Within 3 days, this seat will see the results. The swordsman has no name, only a code name. He is a cruel and ruthless swordsman, and he is the private force raised by Du Sihai, the dead warrior. Under the attention of everyone, the sword idiot bowed his head slightly, and said in a deep voice, Peak Lord, I suspect that this matter is inseparable from Liwafeng. The whole context of the incident is simple. Yesterday, Hu Yuankang went to Luofeng to pass on Du Sihai's words, but in the end, he was slapped with blood on his face and came back embarrassed. And the day after he returned, he was killed. If it has nothing to do with you a peak, who would believe it? You mean, that woman's hand? Du Sihai guessed something fiercely, and said coldly, "No, Yi Qingyao should not personally make a move, it is easy to fall under the handle." The sword idiot pondered for a while, and pondered, because she slapped Hu Yuankang yesterday. If she comes to kill again, others will definitely suspect her. She is not a stupid person, naturally she will not do such a stupid thing. Read more novels for free on our website, tinyurl.com/2aa54z8b. So who do you think the attacker is? Du Sihai was extremely angry. A fine light flashed at the corner of the sword idiot's eyes, and he said coldly, "Su Chang'e." Huh? Du Sihai's eyelids jumped, and he suddenly smiled. That kid can't practice, it's just a vase. Kong Er wants to kill him, it's like slaughtering a pig and a dog. How can he kill Kong Er? The sword idiot shook his head and said, "The Peak Lord said this badly. Luofeng is their master and apprentice. If it is not Yi Qingyao, then it must be him." Du Sihai was irritable, and said in a voice, "Anyway, this matter is left to you. Since you think it is that kid, then check that kid first, and check quietly, don't be detected by the sect master. The matter of raising the dead is Du Sihai's secret and cannot be exposed. The identity of the sword idiot on the face is his staff, and many people in the sect do not know the true identity of the sword idiot. Only Du Sihai has a heart like a mirror." And this time, faced with the assassination of Tiantai Peak, Tiantai Peak dispatched the dead for the first time. In the house, Su Chang'e is taking stock of the harvest. In front of you are 2 storage bags. This is exactly the loot obtained from Wang Ba and Hu Yuankang. He first opened Wang Ba's and took out the 9,000 spirit stones, and then began to rummage through other things. It didn't take long. He found hundreds of pills, all of which contained a strong aura, in addition to some yellow-grade medicinal materials and some Xian-level general soldiers. When he turned to the bottom of the bag, Su Chang'e was surprised to find that there was a local extreme knife method, Thunder Overlord Dao Earth Pole Sword Technique. His pupils lit up. "I didn't expect that there was even the Earth Pole Sword Technique, this wave can." His dragon-slaying knife has always been wielded with brute force and has never used any knife techniques. Right now, this knife technique has come at the right time. But he naturally won't learn this knife technique, and the subsidy of the learning system is not fragrant. The strongest thing in Wang Ba's storage bag is this knife technique, in addition to some valuable things. Su Chang'e roughly estimated that he could probably sell nearly 10,000 top-grade spirit stones. Next, he began searching Hu Yuankang's bag. Compared to Wang Ba, Hu Yuankang was obviously inferior, and there were only more than 5,000 top-grade spirit stones in the storage bag, shining, and some low-grade herbs that could not be named. But the position of the bottom of his storage bag presses the box, but there is a Xian-level footwork stored. Su Chang'e looked at it, and his heart was overjoyed. "Phantom step," he blurted out. After turning a few pages and reading a few pages, Su Chang'e suddenly realized that this footwork can increase the user's speed by 100 times. And walk like the wind. Once cast, it's so fast that only an afterimage is left along the way, as if it were a phantom. Well, without further ado, let's brush the subsidy. He pushed the door and went to Yi Qingyao's residence. Not long after Suchanga left, a light streaked through the Tiantai peak, and a terrifying figure retreated here, with a sharp sword intent permeating his body. It's a sword idiot. Looking at the empty wooden house in front of him, a brilliant light flashed. In the eyes of the sword idiot, it's late. However, it is convenient for me. He entered the house and searched around, but found nothing suspicious. In the end, he had to hide behind the wooden house and wait for the rabbit. Along the familiar road, Suchanga soon arrived in front of the small courtyard. Yi Qingyao's courtyard door was still hidden, and he opened it with a gentle push. Apprentice. Seeing him coming, Yi Qingyao's eyes lit up, her eyes were full of light, and the brilliance flowed. Suchanga stepped forward, took her into his arms, looked down and smiled. Master, I'm here to give you a gift again. Feeling his warm embrace, Yi Qingyao only felt her heart pounding, and a flush like a flower blooming appeared on her white and crystal cheeks. Suchanga came this time. She actually expected that she was probably sending herself a gift again. Because the first few times he came, he gave himself gifts. Apprentice, you are so good to Master Wei. Master Wei really doesn't know how to repay you. Yi Qingyao's red lips opened lightly, and she whispered softly. Although she didn't know what kind of gift it was this time, she also expected that it would definitely not be an ordinary thing. As soon as the apprentice has something good, he immediately comes to send himself, without hiding it. This is really deeply moving, unrewarding. Suchanga's arm slowly moved down, hugging her slender waist, and caressed Yi Qingyao's slender waist like this. Yi Qingyao's pretty face suddenly turned even redder, like a blooming rose. Shy and charming, with buds waiting to be released. This? Su Changa instead held her tighter, and said with a smile, Master, isn't this a reward? Yi Qingyao was slightly stunned, and her cheeks turned red immediately, like the sunset in the sky. Yes, with an example, isn't it a reward? It's business. Suchanga took out the 2 books of exercises and handed them over. Master, these 2 are Thunder Overlord Dao and Phantom Step. Send them, take them. Yi Qingyao's heart touched, took it, held it firmly in his arms, and said, Apprentice, it's good to have you. Suchanga smiled and prepared to leave. Wait a minute. Yi Qingyao was a little reluctant and stopped him. She also wanted to stay with Suchanga for a while. What's wrong, Master? Suchanga asked. You don't have to worry about the things you can't cultivate. The Master will find a way for you. Yi Qingyao solemnly said, and this tournament, you don't have to worry, as long as there is a Master, you will be able to participate. Actually, just now, Master Wei had already gone to find the sect master. Theory, and I told him, this contest meeting, you have decided. Read more novels for free on our website, tinyurl.com/2aa54z8b. Just now, she went to the main peak and had already told the sect master that Lu Wafeng must participate in this conference. The sect master didn't say much, but just told her that this matter was indeed the idea of that strange old man from Tiantai Peak. Strange old man thinks that Lu Wafeng is a disciple. What is the difference? With nothing? Isn't that a waste of Dabi's time? Besides, that disciple can't cultivate. Shao transparent one, what if this kind of person comes to power and is killed by a punch? Isn't that Lu Wafeng a shame? Knowing this, Yi Qingyao secretly decided that he would find a way to let Su Changa cultivate and become strong. Hearing her words, Suchanga's heart was moved. He clenched his fists and swore an oath in his heart. On the day of the tournament, I must give the master a long face. Burst everything and disobey. Let those who look down on Luofing all change. He looked in the direction of Tiantai Peak, his fists clicked, and he shouted. In his heart, blame the old man, when the competition starts, I will burst your disciple's dog's head. By the way, Yi Qingyao suddenly remembered something, and said, how about this? I'll go buy you a strong demon beast and use it to make up for the gap in your cultivation. What do you think? The tournament is allowed to bring demon beasts, and demon beasts are also part of the strength of cultivators. It is worth mentioning that the tournament is not a single duel, but a team of 2 or 2, each disciple can find a teammate to form a team, so that the odds of victory are greater. Generally in the end, the disciple with slightly inferior strength will withdraw from the battle for the Holy Sun, but can help others win the position of the Holy Sun, and the reward he gets is immeasurable. Oh? Su Chang's heart moved. Can you even bring demon beasts? That Xiaoyu appeared, wouldn't he directly kill all sides? Yes, then you can help me buy a demon beast. Although there were already demon beasts, he did not refuse Yi Qingyao. Without him. It's so pretentious. What annoys him the most is the hypocritical rejection. And one more demon beast also has more combat power, like a tiger with wings. So why not? Well, that's it. Yi Qingyao planned to buy him a cloud-stepping heavenly horse, which was extremely strong in cultivation, and could not only be used for flying in the air, but also for fighting. But there is also a disadvantage, that is, it is very expensive and requires a lot of money. But she thinks that spending money on apprentices is not a matter of course. By the way, Yi Qingyao said again, you still need a teammate. When the time comes, I will find you a stronger one, and when it is over, I will pay him something. Well, thank you, master. If nothing else happens, then the disciple will go back first. Su Chang'e thanked him. Okay, let's go. Su Chang'e turned around and left here. He wanted to quickly see what kind of exercises the system subsidized back. Watching him leave, Yi Qingyao felt that her heart was empty, as if her heart had been stolen by him. Su Chang'e walked on the way home. Before it goes to the place, the system's subsidy has arrived. Ding! You sent the Earth Extreme Dao method, Thunder Overlord Dao, and the Xian level footwork, Phantom Step, and the tens of billions of subsidies took effect, triggering an excess critical attack. This excess crit multiplier, 375,000 times. Congratulations to the host for obtaining Taishang Wind Electric Knife. Shadow Ghost Step in the beginning. It's really 2. Su Chang'e's heart was overjoyed, and he couldn't close his mouth happily. At the beginning of the gift, he felt that he gave 2 books this time, and the subsidy should also be 2, right? Now that subsidies are in place, as expected, the system sounds. Taisheng Wind Electric Knife, Heaven-Level Knife Method, in ancient times, an immortal king used it to split Mount Hua, extremely terrifying, divided into 20 layers. When cultivated to the extreme, you can cut out 20 knives in an instant, sparks all the way with lightning, the knife is deadly. Groove. Su Chang'e couldn't help but be overjoyed. Mother, cut 20 knives in an instant? No wonder it's called a wind electric knife. The hand speed of this knife, you can't catch up after being single for 20 years, right? And this fireworks with lightning, good special effects. The money is burning. One can imagine how painful it would be for the enemy to be slashed 20 times in an instant. Immediately, he set his sights on Shadow Ghost Step in the beginning. The system sound also sounded. Primeval Shadow Ghost Step, Heaven-Level Footwork, a secret method not passed down by a huge force called Primordial Holy Land in ancient times, divided into 26 layers. Once completed, it can be hidden in the shadows. Whether it is the shadow of the wall, or the shadow of the big tree, even if it is a human shadow, it can also be hidden in, silently lurking in it, and can ignore the distance, flashing between the shadows. Lying groove, this one is more hanging. Suchonga's eyelids jumped, and he was really surprised. This move is simply a life-saving artifact. Whether you are chasing or being chased and killed, you can directly follow the shadow of the other party to hide in, and then unknowingly erase the other party. This is. Damn it. Read more novels for free on our website, tinyurl.com/2AA54Z8B. Most importantly, this can even flash between shadows regardless of distance. Doesn't that mean that no matter how far away, as long as there is a shadow as far as the eye can see, you can teleport into the shadow? Fiercely, Suchonga understood why this was the secret method of the primordial Holy Land. Because once targeted by people who practice this footwork, they almost don't even have consciousness, they are caught up by the other party, and then silently do it. This is also too mad. If this is passed on to outsiders, then what will be done? This footwork is paired with the wind electric knife, which is a perfect match. Immediately, Suchonga planned to start cultivating. Anyway, there were no people around, and he simply practiced while walking. Soon. 1 floor. 2 layers. 4 floors. 8 floors. 15 floors. 18 floors. 20 floors. In just a short while, Suchonga repaired the Taisheng wind electric knife to the full floor. And that primordial shadow ghost step, he looked at it for a while. It took about 10 minutes, and he also cultivated to the full layer. The reason for such a fast speed is due to his transparent physique, no impurities, and strong ability to accept things. Second, it is because the subsidy is all analyzed by the system, which is easy to understand and very easy to get started. After cultivating, Suchonga exhaled a turbid breath, only to feel the mysteries rushing in his brain, gushing like a big river and waves. The mysteries of the Taisheng wind electric knife and the Taichu shadow ghost step rolled in his mind, absorbed and digested by him, and finally precipitated and perfectly understood. After cultivating, he planned to find a no man's place and try the power of this Taisheng wind electric knife. It's just that when he just took a step, he suddenly had a flash of light in his mind and thought of something. If I improve my cultivation again, wouldn't the power of this sword technique burst even more powerful? It was also a coincidence, just now I was about to absorb the remaining half of the spirit stones, but I was killed by Wangba's fool. But now it can be absorbed. In an instant, he entered the system space, ready to absorb. Master, in the system space, Xiaoyu turned into a human form to greet him. His red clothes swaying in the wind, and his tail gently swaying. Suchonga looked at her and said with a smile, Xiaoyu, I think you're colorful. Yarn at the beginning is very good-looking, thin, the figure is prominent, and it is very good-looking. Although the red clothes on Xiaoyu's body are also good-looking, this dress is made of very thick material, blocking the beautiful body, and it looks a little bloated. Xiaoyu smiled and changed into the colored yarn at the beginning. The colored gauze is very thin, like silk, and her whole temperament is more outstanding, like a fairy in the dust. Suchonga chatted with her a few more times, and then stopped wasting time and began to absorb spirit stones. Buzz. He pressed his palm against the spirit stone mountain, and the rolling spiritual energy was suddenly poured into his body at a rapid speed, transforming into pure power. Boom. Just in an instant, the breakthrough begins. Move the blood realm 8 heavens. Move the blood realm 9 heavens. Half-step Jingu. Boom. The Divine Palace realm is a heavy heaven. Divine Palace realm triple heaven. Divine Palace realm 5th heaven. Divine Palace realm 9 heavens. In a moment, all the spirit stones were absorbed, leaving only a few top-grade spirit stones. Under the continuous absorption, Suchanga's cultivation was like a rocket, soaring wildly, directly breaking the shackles of the blood realm, and reaching the Divine Palace 9 in one fell swoop. Phew. He opened his eyes were as deep as the starry sky, flashing a little wisdom, like starlight flashing, and the breath on his body became deeper and vast. He did not absorb the remaining few superb spirit stones again, and it was still useful to keep them. The master is stronger. Xiao Yu looked at him from afar, his beautiful eyes shining brightly. Xiao Yu, in a year, it will be the sect competition conference, when you and I will be born together and kill all sides. Suchanga's face was full of red light and said, Xiao Yu nodded meekly. Immediately, Suchanga exited the system space and walked towards his room. It didn't take long. Then arrive at the chalet. Huh? This breath, as soon as he returned, he suddenly noticed that something was wrong, and he couldn't help but raise his eyebrows. In the perception, there is a breath hidden behind the wooden house, as if waiting for him. That breath is also the Divine Palace ninefold. Read more novels for free on our website, tinyurl.com/2aa54z8b. If it had been placed in the past, Suchanga would never have been able to perceive it. But now stepping into the Divine Palace realm, not only has the comprehensive strength skyrocketed, but the perception has also undergone qualitative changes. He walked over to that side and shouted in a deep voice, "What kind of sneaky? Get out." Huh? At the back of the room, the hidden aura of the sword idiot was hidden here, ready to observe secretly and quietly investigate Suchanga. But now when I heard the other party call myself, my mouth suddenly grew, and I felt deeply incredible. What's the matter? Isn't he hiding his breath? He can actually sense it? He is a powerhouse in the Divine Palace realm, he can sense it without any cultivation? For a while, the sword idiot was very surprised. But on second thought, it's a good thing. The other party can sense him. Doesn't this mean that the other party has already shown his stuffing? It's really easy to find a place to step on iron shoes, and it doesn't take any effort to get it. He walked out from the back of the house, with a grim sinister smile on his face, and said coldly, "Boy, I just said that you killed Hu Yuan Kong. It seems that you really guessed correctly. You have cultivation." At the same time as the words fell, his face changed sharply, and he was stunned. He sensed that Suchanga's body was actually swept up with terrifying Divine Palace realm coercion fluctuations. That fluctuation was like a vast and boundless deep sea, thick and deep, and incomparable, faintly making him feel pressure. What's going on? The sword idiot was shocked. A little transparent who couldn't practice suddenly had the same level as him, which shocked him greatly. His eyes widened, and he couldn't believe it. "What's going on? Your eyes are so wide, you want to kill me with your eyes?" Suchanga sneered. He already understood what was going on. Tian Tai Peak sent someone to investigate him. However, it seems that he is not a disciple under the old man's seat, but rather a staff-level expert around him. However, how could Suchanga be afraid? Come one, kill one. Come two, then kill a pair. The sword idiot was shocked for a while, but finally came back to his senses. What about cultivation, to be equal to him? He is not called a sword idiot in vain. He loves swords like life, nourishes swords with blood, 30 years. Like a day, and his attainments in the path of kendo have long reached an incredible point. He didn't think that Suchanga could be better than himself. Even if the cultivation is the same, the gap in moves is difficult to bridge. Ugh. A long sword is unsheathed in the wind. The sword is 3 feet long and about 2 fingers wide, like a pool of autumn water, and before it is fully unsheathed, you can directly face and feel the fierce sword intent. The fallen leaves around them were separated by a long distance, automatically separated, and were cut in half by the invisible sword intent. Go and die. The sword idiot held the long sword, and with a gentle wave, a sharp sword radiance burst out instantly. The ground exploded in an instant, and was triggered by this sword radiance. And the sharp sword intent was like a dazzling rainbow, shooting out and stabbing quickly. Sensing the power of this sword, Suchanga smiled coldly, his heart moved. And the dragon-slaying knife suddenly appeared in his hand. The heavy back of the knife exudes domineering coercion, permeating with a magnificent ancient aura. There is no nonsense, running the Taichu Extreme Dao Code, the thick blood-red true chi in the body flows one after another, bursting out with the sound of thousands of troops galloping and slashing forward with a knife. Boom! Boom! The heavy sword light flashed, the momentum sank, and in an instant it slashed at the swordman's body, and suddenly burst out with a piercing sound of gold and iron clashing, and the sword light was obviously invincible, and it exploded into pieces in one face. What? The sword idiot was shocked in his heart. He actually lost? How is it possible? How could you? Suddenly, he heard the sound of 10,000 horses galloping in Changa's body, like thunder, deafening. This shocked his heart and his face changed. Suddenly, he understood. The other party possessed extremely high-level true chi, which was stronger than him, enough to make up for the gap in moves. But what level of true chi could evaporate the potential in the body to such an extent? Could it be blue true chi? Shoo! The sword idiot didn't dare to think about it anymore. He had to know that the scruffy old man at the door of the Tibetan scripture pavilion was pure purple true chi, and this blue true chi was only a trace worse than purple true chi. This surnamed Su turned out to be a hidden genius. A ruthless character who plays a pig and eats a tiger. As soon as he thought of this, he suddenly sensed a thick knife chi behind him. And when he looked up, he found that Suchanga in front of him had disappeared somehow. Oops, he's behind his back. It's late. Suchanga jumped out from the shadow of the sword idiot, and the dragon slaying knife aimed at his back and slashed out hard. 2 million caddies of strength, all rushed out. In an instant, Mars splashed, lightning struck, sparks and lightning struck. Dazzling flashing. 1 cut. 2 cuts. 3 cuts. 20 knives. The Taisheng wind electric knife showed its power, and in an instant he cut out 20 knives, all of which were slashed on the back of the sword idiot. Click. Click. The refined body of the sword idiot resounded with the sound of broken bones. And the back was cut abruptly by the dragon-slaying knife, and the blade split the backbone, and it was still slashing inward fiercely. You. What kind of sword technique are you? The sword idiot's face changed drastically, white as paper, and he gasped heavily. The dragon-slaying knife had penetrated deep into his body, slashing from his back to his chest, penetrating through, shattering bones, and splashing blood. Read more novels for free on our website, tinyurl.com/2AA54Z8B. Suchanga didn't talk nonsense with him, and fiercely increased the force. Directly splitting him, the dragon-slaying knife passed, destroying and pulling decay, drenching the blood of the sword idiot, and the bone stubble. Couldn't stop splashing down. After a few breaths, the sword idiot fell. Split in half, Death's eyes were extremely terrified, as if looking at a monster. He prides himself on raising swords with blood and calls himself a sword idiot, but now he died under the sword and was cut in half by someone. How did he know that Suchanga's cultivation was a heaven-level sword technique, and a slash was slashed out, and the sparks and lightning all the way were not something he could compete with at all? And Suchanga's first use of the primordial shadow ghost step also caught him off guard. In fact, if the face is opposite, Suchanga can also crush him. He possessed blood-red true chi, and his true strength was 8 times that of cultivators of the same realm. But he wanted to try the Taichu shadow ghost step, so he sneaked up from the rear. It is worthy of being a secret method that has not been passed down from the primordial Holy Land. It is really easy to use. I have to say that this move is too easy to use, surprisingly victorious, and quickly solve the battle situation. If it is used for assassination, it is perfect. Immediately, he bent down and groped quickly on the sword idiot, and then burst his body with a punch, and finally washed the scene of the crime. In the house, Suchanga opened the storage bag of the sword idiot, swept it away, and suddenly his eyes lit up. Prefecture-level spirit soldiers. His eyes looked back and forth in the storage bag, and he saw that there were 4 swords inside. All of them were prefecture-level spirit soldiers without exception. Sword idiot is a sword cultivator, a lifelong love of swords, proficient in sword weapons. No one loves except swords. These 4 prefecture-level spirit soldiers were all carefully selected and bought by him at great expense. Ordinary swords can't enter his eyes at all. You know, the Earth-level spirit soldier is only 1 level away from the Heaven-level spirit soldier. This is even more advanced than the Qishao blade given to him by the scruffy old man of the Tibetan scripture pavilion. How could Suchanga not be excited? And the names of these 4 swords are also coming out. Purple Cloud Sword, Qingdao Sword, Ben Thunder Sword, Shanqing Sword. Suchanga collected them all, and then searched the storage bag for a while. And successfully found more than 30,000 top-grade spirit stones, as well as some high-grade treasure medicines, as well as precious gems and other things. He put the 30,000 spirit stones into another bag and shared it with the money subsidized by the system. The reason is simple. Even if the money subsidized by the system is sent out, it cannot be brushed off, but what is snatched from others can. At the same time that the sword idiot died, Tiantai Peak, Du Sihai suddenly had a bad premonition in his heart, and this feeling could not be said, as if the plan had failed. The sword idiot won't encounter any accidents, right? He was in a disturbed mood and got up and went to the Hall of Soul Lamps. The Soul Lantern Hall, as the name suggests, stores the soul lamps of many disciples, and as long as a person dies, the soul lamp will be extinguished. However, generally unimportant disciples, Du Sihai would not take care of their soul lamps. Soon, Du Sihai arrived at the Hall of Soul Lamps. Looking up, just one glance, his face suddenly changed. What? How can it be? The soul lamp of the sword idiot has actually been extinguished. Du Sihai looked at the soul lamp that extinguished the dark and fireless light, and his face changed again and again, from shock to incredulous, and then from incredible to monstrous anger. There is no doubt that the sword idiot has been killed. First Hu Yuan Kong, followed by sword idiot, Lu Wafeng is too deceived. Just the two masters and apprentices, can't run anything else. Click. He was furious, clenched his fists hard, and his bones and joints suddenly erupted with a piercing crisp sound. Immediately, he lifted his feet and left here, stepped through the sky, and rushed to Lihua Peak. He wants to go over in person and ask the other party for an explanation. It didn't take long. Du Sihai came to Lu Wafeng. Directly pushed open the door of the small courtyard, broke in, stared at Yi Qingyao with a stunned look and gloomy eyes, and roared angrily with her name. Yi Qingyao, you are overdoing it presumptuously. Yi Qingyao is confused at this time. What's going on? Why did the other party suddenly come over angry? Could it be that something big happened? He immediately asked, what's wrong? Still pretending to be confused? Du Sihai's face turned livid, and he roared lowly, yesterday, Hu Yuan Kong came to you once, and the next day, he was killed. The death was extremely miserable, and it was split in half alive. Then, I sent the sword idiot to investigate, but I didn't expect to be killed. Again. This matter is inseparable from your Lu Wafeng. Although he was angry and had a backlog of fire in his heart, he did not dare to shout loudly. The sword idiot is a dead warrior and cannot alarm the sect master, so he is very cautious. But also because of this, the fire in my stomach is even stronger, and my liver hurts with anger. Someone else killed him, he can't say yet. They're all dying. Hearing Du Sihai's words, Yi Qingyao raised her eyebrows and was taken aback. That surnamed who is dead? Haha, well done. Only, who killed it? And that sword idiot, could it be that he was also killed by the same person? Who will it be? She knew that the sword idiot was a strong person in the divine palace realm. And her cultivation was on the sword, and she was as strong as a sword, but she didn't expect to be killed. In his own peak seat, who can kill the sword idiot except himself? Could it be an apprentice? But it's impossible, isn't it impossible for apprentices to cultivate? All kinds of thoughts flashed through her mind, and she felt more and more strange and incredible. Read more novels for free on our website, tinyurl.com/2aa54z8b. Anyway, you are sure that it was my Lu Wafeng who killed you, right? Yi Qingyao said coldly. That's right. Just the two of you masters and apprentices, you can't run away from others. Du Sihai shouted fiercely. Yi Qingyao smiled, glanced at him coldly, and said without hurry, okay, then. You show evidence. Du Sihai's heart of 10,000 alpacas whistled past. He was angry just now, and directly came to Xingshi to ask the crime, where is the evidence? Even if there is evidence, I am afraid that it has already been burned by the other party. For a time, Du Sihai held his stomach for a while, his face was red with anger. And his neck was thick, and finally he snorted coldly and through his sleeves. Away. There is no evidence, and you can't speak loudly, you are going to suffocate to death. However, he wanted to leave now, but Yi Qingyao did not agree. Slow down. She said coldly, looked directly at Du Sihai, and said in her words, Du Sihai, you framed me, we have to calculate this matter, right? Huh? Du Sihai chuckled in his heart, and said in a deep voice, how to calculate? Of course, I went to the sect master, to judge, Yi Qingyao said lightly, you have no evidence, just break into Lihua Peak, this is not to say, you also sent someone to secretly sneak into my Lihua Peak to investigate, is this when? There is no one in Lihua Peak. Du Sihai was shocked. It was actually bitten back by the other party. But he was not a vegetarian either, and he dared to shout angrily, "Go, this seat supports you." Although the true identity of the sword idiot is not visible, he is old and cunning, and he still has to pretend on his face, and he can't be seen by the other party. After saying this, he didn't wait for Yi Qingyao to reply, and directly slammed the door. Yi Qingyao didn't say anything more. She is only threatening Du Sihai, and she actually has no handle in her hands. Although the other party sent someone to secretly investigate, but now she doesn't know who killed her, and she has no evidence. Even if you go to the sect master has to look at the evidence, otherwise he will not be able to convince the public. Outside, Du Sihai had just walked out the door, and when he turned his head, he suddenly saw Su Chang'e. Su Chang'e had just arrived, and he had already hidden his cultivation, ready to give all the treasures obtained from the sword idiot to the beautiful master to brush subsidies. But I didn't expect to run into a wronged family. It's really a narrow road. He glared at Du Sihai fiercely. Sensing Su Chang'e's glare at him, Du Sihai suddenly became angry, and his face turned green with anger. "Boy, don't push the Hansa." He said a cruel word, turned his head, and left. Su Chang'e took a sip and drank. "What about pressing you? It's kind of biting me." Du Sihai didn't hear it, turned his head and walked away. Su Chang'e laughed, his heart was very happy, and he immediately stopped wasting time with him and pushed the door into the courtyard. After Du Sihai left, he returned to the Tiantai Peak Hall all the way indignantly. "Me off." He was trembling with anger, and he couldn't control his body. Boom. In a fit of anger, he suddenly shot out and slammed his palm on the table and chair. Powerful power instantly smashed the table and chairs, and exploded into powder. He doubted Yi Qingyao, and also suspected Su Chang'e, but there was no evidence. It is also because of the identity of the sword idiot, he can't deal with this matter in an upright manner. This made him feel like a fire in his heart, getting stronger and stronger. And his angry eyes were dry. If the identity of the sword idiot is exposed, then the matter of him raising the dead warrior will be revealed. He raised not only one sword idiot, but an entire legion of dead soldiers. If he let the sect master know that he was doing so big behind his back, what was the difference between that and rebellion? The consequence must be a great storm. It seems that this matter needs to be planned. Du Sihai was shrewd, facing Su Chang'e just now, he took retreat as an advance, and then slowly planned when he came back. Yue Peak, small courtyard. Yi Qingyao looked at Su Chang'e in front of him, and there were many words in her heart that she didn't know whether to ask or not. In the end, she asked anyway. "That apprentice, Hu Yuan Kong and sword idiot, did you kill you?" "Well?" Su Chang'e frowned, and was about to speak. Yi Qingyao, in front of him, suddenly sighed, shook his head and said, "How is it possible, you clearly can't cultivate, alas, think too much for the master." Su Chang'e smiled. Yi Qingyao suddenly thought of something at this time, and said again, "Apprentice, Luofeng is just you and me, now Du Sihai is speechless by my choking, he will definitely spill qi on your head when he turns back, you have to be extra careful. But you don't have to worry, there is a master, he doesn't dare to treat you well. Remember, Master Wei will always protect you." As she spoke, she also wondered in her heart that it was not someone else who was wrong with Tiantai Peak, but it was planted on Lihua Peak. Of course, these are her guesses, and Su Chang'e does not know. Listening to her words, Su Chang'e was moved in his heart. Master is really good to himself. But today is also a serious matter, he shook his head to drive away the distractions, and immediately prepared to open the storage bag and give the treasure. Just about to open the storage bag, he suddenly frowned. No, the blame old man has already come, then I have to be cautious in sending things to avoid showing flaws. These weapons are sword idiots, and do see high needless to say that they must know them all, and even are very familiar. So it can't be sent for the time being. But on second thought, it seems that it can be sent in other ways. There are many forging masters in the Kanglan realm, if you can smelt all these spirit soldiers, and then make new weapons and send them away, wouldn't it be okay? Although this method is a bit troublesome, it is always good to return it. There are also casters in the sect, but if you go to find them, you will definitely show your horse's feet, so you can only choose to go down the mountain. Wait a minute, do you want to ask the Dark Soul Emperor first? As a grandfather-type Goldfinger, he should have a better way. In the novels that Suchanga read in the previous life, the grandfather type Goldfinger is almost omnipotent, and he can solve any problem that the protagonist encounters. So why don't you take advantage of it? Read more novels for free on our website, tinyurl.com/2aa54z8b. Just do it. He immediately said goodbye to Yi Qingyao and returned to his residence. In the house, Suchanga took out a superb spirit stone, and a rich spiritual energy suddenly condensed the dew that soaked the room. He did not directly awaken the Dark Soul Emperor, but raised a strange arc at the corner of his mouth, and with a click, he broke the spirit stone in half. The Dark Soul Emperor's kind of old silver coin, he must not let him eat too much at one time, it is enough to absorb half a spirit stone for him. As long as you can wake up and talk, it's okay. If he eats too much, his strength will definitely recover a few points, which is not good for me. A fine light flashed in Suchanga's eyes. I have to say that the world I wear has to be guarded against everywhere. These villains have too high IQs, Malgobis, how not to let themselves wear into brainless texts. Shaking his head, he took out the jade bracelet and placed this half of the spirit stone next to the bracelet. Just listening to the croak, with only one blink of an eye, the half of the spirit stone was gone. And with it, the old voice sounded. Ha ha ha, I'm finally alive again. Huh, why is it only half a piece? The moment the Dark Soul Emperor woke up, he was originally happy, but the next moment he realized that the spiritual power in his body was not very sufficient and could not be maintained for too long. Senior, I have these 4 swords in my hand, do you have a way to put them? Suchanga said succinctly. The voice just fell. The Dark Soul Emperor laughed and said, why bother? I have lived for endless years, this kind of thing is a trifle. You don't know, do you? I am actually a life master, who can erase any residual breath on the weapon, and even change the fate of the original owner of the weapon. Suchanga's face suddenly showed joy. It is worthy of being a grandfather, and the way is more. He also knows a little about the fateful master. There are also many fate masters in those novels I read in my previous life. This kind of profession can communicate with the heavenly machine, observe the fate of others, and even calculate when the person died and what the end was. Which is extremely terrifying. It's just that what he didn't know was that in the auction hall, the Dark Soul Emperor had already deduced his fate. But as a result, it couldn't be deduced. At that time, the Dark Soul Emperor was surprised, and it was a great joy. Even he can't see through fate, then this son must be absolutely very human. Unbeknownst to him, the heavenly machine on Suchanga's body was covered by the system, which was only the basic function of the system. Trouble the seniors, to help, help me erase the remnants of fate on this, and change the appearance by the way. Suchanga felt that since he had done it, it would be a big pain, not only to make fate unrecognizable, but also to make the appearance unrecognizable. Easy. The Dark Soul Emperor grabbed the 4 spirit soldiers in his hand, and with 2 fingers on the sword, the long sword suddenly hummed, as if a certain line was broken. This means that the fate of the spirit soldier and the sword idiot has been cut off. In this way, even other masters could not see through who the original owner of this sword was. Immediately, the Dark Soul Emperor struck again, slapped a palm, and the 4 spirit soldiers were immediately flattened and turned into a mass of fine iron, and then under the pressure of the Soul Emperor, they were cast into 4 halberds. Seeing the long sword turn into a halberd, Suchanga suddenly smiled. Okay, here you go. The Dark Soul Emperor handed over the reforged halberd. Suchanga took it in his hand, and Xian planned to return to the small courtyard to find the beautiful master. At this moment, the Dark Soul Emperor suddenly sensed something and turned his head to look outside. He didn't care, but when he saw the situation outside, his pupils froze sharply, and he gasped for air. Shoo! That is that. Huh? Seeing that the Dark Soul Emperor gasped, Suchanga's eyes also froze. What's going on? He also looked outside. I saw that above Lihua Peak, there was a figure flying with the imperial sword. He recognized it. It was a disciple of Tiantai Peak, named Sikong Tuesday. When Sikong Tu passed over Lihua Peak, he also glanced down slightly, and immediately showed disdain, and immediately left with the imperial sword. Probably passing by me, right? Suchanga muttered. But he didn't understand why the Dark Soul Emperor was scared like that. Shoo! The Dark Soul Emperor gasped again, his wrists were shaking, and he said in a trembling voice, Saint. Sage. What? Suchanga's face changed slightly, and he hurriedly said, he's a saint? Nope. No. The Dark Soul Emperor's face changed, and said, I saw through his fate. He is about to meet a saint. No, to be precise, it is a future saint, with the appearance of a saint. Extremely terrifying. Suchanga raised his eyebrows, and said, tell me in detail. You wait, I'll deduce it first. The Dark Soul Emperor closed his eyes. It took half an hour for him to reopen it, and there was a touch of shock in his eyes. Worked it out. Sikong Tu took over a sect mission 3 days later. That mission was in Skyhawk City, and on the way to the mission, he met a maid from the Huang family in Skyhawk City. That maid is a slave bought by the Huang family from the slave market and has been bullied, and when Sikong Tu met her, she was being punched and kicked by the Huang family. After Sikong Tu saw her, he saved her like a dog. As everyone knows, this maid is the reincarnation of a saint. Once she gets a certain opportunity, she will transform into an immortal, and her mortal body will transform into a psychic jade body, and her spiritual energy will automatically enter her body. And drinking water can increase her cultivation. After being rescued, that maid was grateful to Sikong Tu. When the words fell, Suchanga was also surprised, and said, Lying Groove, what a big chance. Read more novels for free on our website, tinyurl.com/2aa54z8b. It can be imagined that the maid is grateful to Sikong Tu, and when she becomes an immortal queen in the future, she will definitely bring endless benefits to Sikong Tu. But it's a pity. This kind of good thing is not Sikong Tu's turn. Suchanga immediately cleaned up and prepared to cut off the maid before Sikong too. It was also at this time that the Dark Soul Emperor lost his voice and said, "It's bad, I'm overdrawn again, and I can't maintain my figure, but before that, I advise you to rush to Skyhawk City, save that maid, befriend her, gain favor, and in the future, she will become a saint, and you will not get less benefits. Just go." Speaking of this, the Dark Soul Emperor's figure darkened countless times, and he could no longer hold on to his figure and fell into a deep sleep. Only half of the spirit stone was absorbed. "I don't need you to say I know." The corner of Suchunga's mouth raised a smile, and he was ready to rush to Skyhawk City. But before that, these 4 halberds naturally had to be given away first. His figure moved, and he quickly rushed to Yiqingyao's small courtyard. Squeak! Pushing open the door, Suchunga stepped straight forward and said, "Master, these 4 halberds are the best opportunity one have ever obtained, send you." Without waiting for her to answer, Suchunga directly threw the war halberd in front of her, and then left at the speed of light. Leave only a dashing back. Apprentice, Yiqingyao looked at his back from afar, and her heart was moved. She glanced at these 4 war halberds, and saw that the war halberds were brand new and new, exuding a sharp cold light, extremely sharp, and faintly pierced the space out of a big hole. This turned out to be Earth Pole Spirit Soldier. Yiqingyao recognized it at once. The Earth-level Spirit Soldier is only a trace different from the Heaven-level Spirit Soldier. This is a treasure. No wonder the apprentice just said that it was the best opportunity he had obtained. But he himself did not keep it, and all selflessly dedicated himself. What a disciple! For a time, she thought a lot, her heart was up and down, there were ripples. And the emotions in her eyes were continuous, and the emotions were long.